DeRusha Eats is brought to you by the Minnesota Pork Board. Today, we're talking about really the most personal connection that most of us have with food. I don't know about you guys, but when I went off to college, one of the things that my mother gave me was a book of her recipes. It was probably typed up on I don't know, she printed it on Print Shop on some dot matrix printer. And let me tell you, 35 years later, there's a lot of chili on those pages, well worn, and there's something emotional about it. Family recipes are always emotional, and Rachel Ingber is with us. Her project and business is called Heirloom Collaborative. Rachel, it's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You make cookbooks, but you've done cookbooks with your own recipes, but today what you're specializing in is really memorializing that family story, right?
Yes. So in 2019, I made a cookbook for my husband's grandmother with all of her recipes. That's just kind of how it started. It was just a passion project, and she was super renowned in the family for being an amazing baker and cook. And I wanted to capture that. And I had always loved photography. So I had this idea of making it look like a real cookbook by taking photos of all the dishes and putting stories throughout. And it was so much fun. It was so great to do. And so many people in the family and her friends all wanted a copy. We actually finished it in time for her 100th birthday.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it was
what was her
awesome.
reaction when she was presented with that cookbook?
So she knew I was working on it, but then to actually have it in her hands and see how, professional it looked, how it was all about her, her face was on the front cover. She was really blown away and couldn't believe that she had been memorialized in that way.
You have done this now for so many different people. And there is something, I think, really emotional about those family recipes, right? Every family has mom's specialty is this, or you get married and move away and you're like, oh, I want mom's recipe or grandma or dad's or whatever. You want that recipe.
Yeah, it's super emotional. It's a really intimate process to kind of come into somebody's home and learn about what makes their recipes unique. A lot of times for local clients, they'll want to be a part of it. So they'll do the cooking and I'll come over to their home to photograph it. So it's a very intimate process. But I try to make it as fun as possible so that it can be a really great project for everyone.
What for you? Is there a recipe that you remember from your childhood where you're like, this is the family recipe I really need to make sure is preserved?
Yeah. For me, I grew up in a Jewish home. My parents are immigrants from Soviet Union, and nobody makes brisket like my mom. So we have it for every single holiday, and that is one that I have made sure that I follow her exact instructions and write it down, and is preserved very well for our family.
You've created these custom books for clients all over the country, right?
Yes.
How do people find you, or where have you made them for?
So a lot of it is word of mouth. I have been fortunate to be in, some media, but also online. People find me through Google or through my website. I've also been able to do some like corporate cookbooks, which has been really fun for corporations' holiday gifts. Or I did one last year for a company's 100-year anniversary. So they really are able to find me all over social media, online, that kind of thing, word of mouth.
Rachel Ingber is here. Heirloom Collaborative is the name of the project. What do you think it is about food that sticks in people's minds in such a profound way?
Yeah, I think because you tend to have food at family celebrations, at holidays, it just has a really important meaning to all these families. Everyone thinks that their parent or their family has the best so-and-so recipe, whether it's apple pie or chili. It just brings up memories of enjoying that and spending time with your family. And it's something that means a lot to people.
What, for you, what gave you sort of permission to say like, okay, I'm leaving my regular job. What were you doing before?
I was at Target corporate for 10 plus years.
So many Target corporate people have like that creative, I suppose it makes sense where they have that creative idea and then jump and go do their thing.
Yeah. Honestly, it became a hobby during COVID, and it was a sort of artistic release during all the stuff that everyone was going through. I had kids at the time, or I still have kids, but they were young at the time. And it became this kind of area to focus some of my energy, and I love doing it. And people started asking me to do it for their families, and I realized I like this a little bit more than my real job. And so
Oh.
I'm going to see what's here and see if I can make it work.
Rachel Ingber is with us, Heirloom Collaborative. And then how does it work? Do you photograph it? And you brought a couple examples, right?
Yeah. So I do all the photography. Clients that I work with, you can choose how many recipes. Every project is custom. And then you can choose how many that you want photographed as well. Again, for clients that are local, I give them the option of either they can cook or I can do everything. And then I'll do the photography. I'll include stories that you have about those recipes or about your family. I'll also include family photos, an introduction or dedication, all of that so that we make it personalized. And if you or your family has, the handwritten note cards with stains on them,
Yeah.
I'll even photograph those and include them in the book so everyone can kind of get a piece of that nostalgia.
It sounds like a tremendous amount of work.
It is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Because you're cooking, sometimes then you're
Yes.
cooking it, styling it, doing the whole bit. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I love getting to know these stories of each family. And I put a lot of my heart into it.
What's it cost? What's the range of what this would cost?
Yeah. So knowing how much work it is, typically starts at around $1,700 for a project, depending on how large. Again, I custom code every single project. I've done some books with 15 recipes and some cookbooks with 200 recipes.
Sure.
So it's a big range, but usually starts around there. Sometimes I recommend to families, knowing that it's a pretty large gift you might be giving someone, go in it with several, siblings or parts of your family together, and you can kind of all go in it together.
That's so cool. Mother's Day coming up. You think obviously you're not going to get it done in time for Mother's Day, but giving that gift would be pretty epic.
Yeah, you might not get it done in time, but sometimes what I do is kind of create sort of a cameo style video explaining what the project is. And then the gift can be revealing that project that your mom gets to work on with me. And that way they get to be a part of it too.
It's such a great idea. And, you can do this on a basic level if you wanted to do this for yourself, right? What advice would you give people if they're thinking all right, I can't do the Rachel deal, but I'm inspired by what she's saying. What would you recommend for people?
Absolutely. So I think, combing through all of your recipes, getting your family's input on which ones are most important. I usually advise that clients have a spreadsheet or something to track that and get feedback from their whole family so that they're really capturing all of those. And then as much as possible, I know some families don't always have exact measurements, but as much as possible, try to include those so that they can be replicable when you type that up. And
that's the hard thing. I've talked to so many chefs about how they were inspired by their parent or their aunt or their grandma or whatever. And especially immigrant families don't have exact recipes. It's you just put a little. Or I put a lot, or you put a handful, and you're like, no, you got to help us out a little bit.
It can be challenging. So what I recommend is, watch your mom make it and try to record as much as possible. If she's sprinkling in some paprika, see is that a teaspoon or a tablespoon? Try to get as much measurement detail as you can.
Have you found in working for a number of different families that everybody's chocolate chip cookie recipe is really just the Toll House cookie recipe?
I haven't found that. I think they're all really unique.
Oh, come on, Rachel. My mom's cheesecake recipe, honest to God, I thought was the best cheesecake in the history of the world. And it still is because my mom makes it. And I bought some cream cheese, and it's the freaking recipe right on the back of the Philly cream cheese box. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from my mom. She's not listening. But,
But the love she put into it made it special.
Yeah, it is part of the funny thing of being a part of these family experiences and stories. Well, I just love that you've created this culture of passing these stories on
Yeah,
because that's the biggest thing, right?
absolutely.
Uh, Rachel, it was terrific having you in. People can find you at your website. It is heirloomcollaborative.com, and they can follow you on social media as well. Rachel Ingber, great to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Texter saying, I just tuned in. OMG, she has such a cute voice. So how about that? That's nice. 451, back in just a minute on Drive Time.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
I will bet that a lot of these recipes that Rachel puts together for these cookbooks are recipes that involve pork. Oh, it's such a Midwestern classic. And here in Minnesota pork it's just a way of life. 3,000 family farmers every corner of the state working so hard to raise safe, high protein, lean, affordable, reliable Minnesota pork. It's Jason for the Minnesota Pork Board. I want you to go to tastewhatporkcando.com. Tastewhatporkcando.com, because tonight you might need to make dinner for your family and you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of inspiration. But I love going through this website because they have different recipes sorted by the style of cooking, by how long it's going to take. So like say you have 40 minutes tonight, you could make brown sugar pork burger with bacon onion jam. It's the onion jam that takes a little time in that recipe. Or you want something a little quicker, how about a 15-minute maple pork burger with apple slaw recipe? Both of those recipes feature ground pork, which is underutilized and incredibly affordable. So go to your grocery store and butcher shop and let's have Minnesota pork for dinner tonight. Oh, yeah.